Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Katie's House podcast. I am Kirsten Vanderjack, and I have co-host Julie on. Hey, Julie, how are you?
Good morning. Excited to talk about real estate again this week.
Yeah, me too. So this article that we're looking at came out of, Yahoo Finance just yesterday, I think it was. And it's basically about the lack of inventory of houses. And so as that relates to shared housing, this next few minutes, let's talk about what are some ways that we can get houses in order to help, people who don't have housing, that are homeless or in drug recovery and need sober living. And we need these houses. So do you have any ideas on what you would do? Or for Katie's house? Katie's house is full now, by the way. So we're going to need houses coming up here.
Well, we've had discussions about different ways to invest and kind of spread out your network. And I think that some of the age-old ways of obtaining houses are changing. And with that, the new and up and coming crisis, for lack of a better term, is the interest rates, right? And so when we go to obtain something, we're looking at what's our cost, right? What are we buying at and what are we paying? So I think the zig and zag in this new arena is going to be either taking over people's loans. It's going to be, buying, something that maybe nobody else wants, some of these bigger houses, because we do have, shared housing. We do have the opportunity to buy those 4 bedrooms to 6 bedrooms and using those to get our shared housing started. So, I mean, that's where I'm thinking. What are you thinking?
I think there are 3 really important things on what you just touched on. Number 1, what is our cost of the house and what is our cash flow? And if anyone is taking the shared housing class by Katie, well, it's by the Normalized Money Project, but it's presented by Katie's House Foundation. I just want to say there is a really great tutorial on how to run those numbers. And so that is important because in shared housing, being that you have 2 people in a room, or even you're dealing with higher risk individuals, then your cash flow is generally going to be better. It does take some time to, fill up the house. And that's why getting involved now and having these relationships is really important. But then what you said about assumptions or assuming loans. And so there are ways for people to find houses that are for sale where the loan can be assumed based on what they locked in at a 3% 30-year fixed. And so we're actually going to go over that in the last few hours. That is what we touch on very specifically. And since I'm a retired mortgage underwriter, it's really important for investors to know how to look for that assumption clause when they're picking up a house that's for sale right now. The last thing that I want to touch on that you said, the 4 to 6 bedroom houses. What's really interesting is most people want a 3-2. And yeah, I agree. I just sold a 6-bedroom, 3-bath in San Diego last year. And it's hard to find people who want that. And so being that we can put 10 people, right? 5 people, or I'm sorry, 2 people in each room over 5 bedrooms, that's 10 people. And then you put a house manager in the 6th bedroom. Those are great for us.
Yeah. And I think that, just to touch on, my other love is also buying mortgage notes, and being in that space. I think I'm hearing from the people above me, which, I'm kind of the lower one, right? I'm not the big bank. I'm not the big shark. I'm the lower investor that buys the lower numbers, the smaller numbers. And they're basically saying that those bigger banks aren't giving up those loans. They're not giving those away. So I think that, we're going to have to be a little bit more thinking out of the box to do some of these deals and to make the best money. And that's the way that I see the trends going.
Agreed. This is the new normal. And that's what the economists and the financial analysts are saying, if you listen to them, is that these 7 and 8% interest rates and the high prices, they're here to stay. They don't foresee that those are going to change. And the people who have money, generally investors deal in even higher rates than that, right? They're at 10%, 11, 12, 14% on bridge loans and hard money. And they're in and out of deals. And then in shared housing, of course, you can pick up a fix and flip or even something that's turnkey. And then once it's fully occupied, you can refinance that into something that is more appetizing. And as it relates to what you're saying on the note side, there are so many companies and who are doing corporate leases, right? So they're wanting to keep those because of the lack of inventory. And so, Julie, I know that you're probably going to be building some houses here soon. I'll be supporting you in any way that I can. And so that's going to help with obviously inventory. And so all of these things just are all kind of coming together.
Right. And I think, as part of our shared housing and part of that, sharing that journey with people, learning about it and growing with it, growing your team, working on what you can do to help the humanitarian side, because that's the other piece of this. Not only are the interest rates going away, that the housing situation and the money situation for people is not going to go away. We're going to have a harder and harder time with people on fixed income. We're going to have a harder and harder time with people that are coming out of high school and don't have anywhere to go and don't have any. These interest rates on these student loans have started back up again. People are really struggling with some of the just day-to-day stuff. And not only is our normalized money show good for everyone to kind of learn about that, but it's also something that we, as Katie House Foundation members, want to see people succeed. And I want to see people look ahead and see what's coming so that they can prepare themselves for what's best for their situation.
Yeah, this is going to be, they're saying, if you listen to this article here, he calls it an earthquake. This gentleman that's on the screen talking, being interviewed, and he says it's going to be a small earthquake, or is it going to be a big earthquake regarding, a potential recession? But the recession that they're touching on, if you listen to this 4 minutes of this interview, is more along people who, make a lesser income and they're really tight right now. And how are they going to make things work out with the cost of food being so high, and then the cost of, even car loans, cars in general, right? But then the rate. So a lot going on. And I think for the people who are just starting out, I know I was thinking a lot about my son last night. He's 16 and it's hard for him. I mean, it's going to be really hard for him to get his own place when he's 18. And he needs to be preparing for that. And so do the people who are living inside of a halfway house or recovery house or one of our boutique shelters. They need to be paying attention now, because a year is going to go by and that's when they have to, no doubtfully rents are going to go up with immigration. And really quick, just Julie, I want to throw it back to you for 30 seconds. As a police officer, I know you had just mentioned to me that you saw a bunch of people that are standing on the main streets and stuff waiting to get into shelters. And so can you just touch on, are you seeing higher populations of people when you're out there driving around in your patrol car?
Well, I'm actually seeing more and more of the, I mean, obviously I live in Illinois, so we're one of those sanctuary cities. So at first it wasn't prevalent to see the migrants, but now I'm seeing them more and more. I also see more people trying to take the opportunity to maybe possibly sell to the migrants too, like food and things like that, because they really don't have transportation. So, there's tents in front of police stations in the city of Chicago. There's other shelters that they've opened in Chicago and outside of Chicago where, there's literally people that, they kind of hang out outside and it's just I've seen them now in stores, and I know that they're migrants because of the way they're acting or the way that they're, you know, non-compliance of normal society rules. So it's going to be quite an adjustment, and this is going to take some time to have that assimilate into our structure and to our society here. So I do see that, you know, some of this family, you know, they're going to try to keep families together, I think, but there's going to come a time when there's going to be a lot of people that are going to need shared housing, and it may turn out that we get enough of that, or we kind of fix our own problems. But I definitely see, I see it, you know, with my own two eyes. You can't hide it anymore. Let's put it that way. They can't hide the fact that we've got a lot more people here with nowhere to go because they're just standing around. Their kids are playing in the busy streets, and they just don't have transportation. They don't have jobs. They don't have anything that, you know, kind of keeps them away for, you know, they're there 24/7, I guess is the best way to put it.
So with that in mind, shared housing is really the ideal long-term strategy, you know, where you can shift away from Airbnb and make a similar amount, except for now you're helping all types of people, families, men, women, children, you know, who may be refugees or immigrants, or who might be people who are just displaced over the next several years, you know, during this next quote unquote earthquake. And so if you're looking to grow your real estate portfolio and help people, please make sure that you get with us here. And Julie, I'm going to close it up right now if you don't mind, but you know, subscribe and go over to housesforchange.com. Please jump into our class if you haven't already taken it, and let's go ahead and grow our real estate portfolios while helping people. Thank you so much, Julie.
Yeah, no, thank you. Absolutely. Like and subscribe, send your comments down below. We'll be happy to answer them. And until next week.
All right. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.